Welcome back to IGN Live. I'm Brian Altano. I'm with Jonathan from Swords of Ditto. Your game looks incredibly cool. One of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. And now, usually when we pick our appointments here for our live show, we kind of get a crack at the things we were most interested in. And I saw this one, and I personally was like, I need to do this one. This looks like the coolest game here. Now, so tell me about Swords of Ditto.
Well, Swords of Ditto is, I guess it's a game when we were first trying to come up with the original concept. We were trying to, well, our heritage is we made Stealth Inc. 2, and we worked with Nintendo on Fluidity, the Fluidity games. We were trying to think of a new way to kind of push those skills. And so we came up with this idea of having a game that created a link to the past every time you played it, a slightly different one. And so that's kind of the original concept is that we make this compressed RPG.
Right.
So over time, it's kind of evolved quite a bit now. We've made a game where it starts. You have exactly what you would have in a normal RPG, like a normal 20 to 30-hour RPG. We've got the dungeons, the gadgets, the enemies, the combat, all of the different areas that you might expect. But what we've done is we've crushed it down so that it all happens way more quickly. And instead of playing a really long RPG, we want people to play multiple small stories.
Which I really appreciate as someone that loves the RPG genre but gets sort of lost in the ones that can sort of stretch out to like 100, 200 hours. And I know people always want those, and it's good to see them being made. But for me personally, I like to have a sort of consolidated RPG experience.
You get closure a bit more early, right?
Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk about the art in this game because it's stunning. How did you guys land on this art style? It's so like inviting, I think is the word for it.
Welcoming, cheerful, it's characterful. I guess really when we were coming up with the concept, we were very wary of a lot of similar games that are being developed or might be developed. And we really wanted to push it forward to make sure that by the time we'd finished, because this has been 2 years in development, that we've got something that looks unique, that when people see it, they go, oh, that is Swords of Ditto. You know, instead of getting a bit confused, maybe it's one of those other pixel games. We want to really make the most of the HD. So this is 1080p and it runs at 60 frames per second. We thought that the whole kind of, it's almost like a Cartoon Network TV show, all the characters that we can do, the facial animation, picking a little bit off things like Wind Waker and the expressions that you see in Link's face. We thought that was a great kind of setting and vibe for a cartoon adventure.
I was going to say that it feels like there's a lot of kind of classic games that are near and dear to our hearts that feel like they inspired this. I'm getting shades of Earthbound. I'm getting, obviously, some Zelda stuff. You've name-dropped 2 Zelda games so far. I'm going to see if I can get you to name-drop all of them by the end of the segment. Even the beach sequence at the beginning was very Link's Awakening to me.
Yes, this is very true.
So it's my personal favorite game of all time. So let's talk about the combat a little bit. It's obviously a lot more quick-moving than your sort of traditional turn-based RPG, right?
That's right, yeah. I'm very much an action games designer, so I like games that have more nuance in the combat system. They have maybe a little bit more than just like a single hit with you keep hacking away at something like Diablo, which is more like numbers-based. I like things that are very immediate. So we have the role, which you can see the character doing there. There's a lot of work that's gone into the role to make it responsive. You've got control while it's happening. You can shorten it, and you can come out of the role into an attack. All of these things, they all work together in order to create a very fluid combat system. Well, there's a 3-hit combo that can be extended based on the equipment that you've got selected at any time, and all of the gadgets as well. They all work fluidly. I'm really not happy with the game until it feels right in the hand, and that's where I started, really. You know, we got some very basic up and running, and then I spent a long time just getting the character moving around, making it feel right, making it feel good. Even just hitting boxes, it was like, yeah, finally that feels good.
It's really the most important thing in a game like this. So that's good to hear, because I think just a simple sword stab is, every game has something like it.
That's right.
But only a few make you go, oh yeah, that feels great every single time. Now, I saw like a giant foot stomp down for a second there. Are there...
That's right. So we have a slightly quirky take on the whole gadgets and tools thing.
Right.
Again, like you mentioned before, it's more like a kind of Earthbound setting. Things aren't necessarily a classic fantasy RPG. We've got a bit more freedom. So the history of the island is a civilization based on play and toys. And they left these toys of legend, these gadgets of legend behind, that you go into dungeons in order you defeat the dungeon, and then you prove your worth.
Oh, awesome!
You prove you can get one of the gadgets of legend, which are these strange toys. And we have you can see that in the D-pad in the corner here we have a vinyl frisbee, which is effectively a record. which you can throw out and it returns. It can collect things. It has like a stun lock effect. There's various elements in each gadget to make sure that they have multiple applications. You see here, just as this is our revive mechanic. When you're co-op,
they hug.
Completely is. Yeah, and
you
share your health. So it's really kind of cooperative, properly working together. But yeah, going back to the foot, we have a giant foot that you summon at any point, and it descends from the heavens, smashes down, and stuns all the enemies. It's great for kind of crowd control.
So that was a good foot.
That was the foot under your control.
That was your foot.
That's your gadget. Yeah.
That's
at
awesome.
any point you press the button, it comes down and stuns all the enemies in front of you.
I thought you were just getting like trampled on. So now we've got a dungeon, which immediately harkens back to the sort of Legend of Zelda for NES. Obviously, I'm getting Link to the Past vibes with the spikes coming out of the floor. Is that a turntable over there?
Yeah,
that's your record?
it's a record. You see, you're throwing a piece of vinyl around. So obviously, the logical switch for one of those is a record player. So
wow.
When you put it in, it turns things on, and you pull it out, it turns it off again. But in the meantime, while it's in, it means that you can't use your gadgets. You have to bide your time. So yeah. I should say that the game is randomly generated, so every single time the world is different, the characters are different, the dungeons are different. What you're seeing now is like a handcrafted level, because as I mentioned earlier, we've done a lot of level design, games like Stealth Inc. and Fluidity, so that's like our strength. But what we wanted to do was to make it so, even though it's handcrafted, that we can randomize elements of it. So
sure.
We'll find that whenever you go into a dungeon, that you'll find that all of the rooms, they change their configuration. You're never going to see the same thing twice, and they always have different kind of different ways to solve similar puzzles.
So what was the reasoning behind the randomly generated levels? Because a lot of the games that have influenced this game aren't like that at all, but you guys are taking this in a different direction.
Well, I think that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to evolve that concept. I guess there was no point really in creating a game that was just like all the other games.
Sure.
And when you come back to the original concept of playing a different Zelda-style game every single time you play, the idea is that it changes itself, so you're always surprised. You're going around the overworld, you don't know what you're going to see, you don't know what dungeons you're going to get, you don't know what gadgets, what enemies. Also, we with the whole story system, each story is a piece in itself, but we have a system which each individual tale that you tell relates to the one that happened previously. So when you complete a story, the events that you undertake while you're playing, they become the legend of the game that comes afterwards.
Oh.
So they talk about the hero who came with his golf club or his mighty club and he defeated the enemy and smited Momo and freed the land from oppression, which is great. There's like always 100 years in between each, so all these events pass into legend. However, if you failed, which you can do, then that's that world over. It's gone, and it passes into darkness. Darkness takes over. The people of the town, the people of the world, they all become oppressed.
Well, that's incredibly tragic.
It is. So it's up to you to write the legend of this world.
Now, do you have tentpole moments that happen within the confines of this, or I guess lack of confines of this randomly generated stuff? Like, there are specific bosses, there are specific things that happen for every player?
Yeah, the game is structured, and it starts off with a kind of slightly smaller structure, but it expands as you level up.
Sure.
You always have to climb. There's a tower in the center of the world, which is the home of the evil Momo, who's the source of evil in the land. You have to climb to the top of there, defeat all the kind of traps and enemies along the way, and you come to have a fight and a boss battle at the top. And when you defeat her, that's the end of the story. So at any point you can decide you want to do that. However, if you pass out into the overworld, you'll find lots of ways to weaken her power, gain more abilities for yourself. And so it's up to you. You kind of invest your time around the overworld.
Sure.
Completing dungeons, being awarded new gadgets, and then you go and use them against her, and it increases your chances and decreases her chances. Because if you fail, it's a high-risk maneuver. The whole world plunged into darkness.
Yeah, I was
going to say
it's one thing when you lose your character progress, but to lose an entire world is that's a lot of pressure, man.
It is, yeah.
So now we're seeing two different characters cooperate. Are these the two main characters that you'll play as no matter what, or do you get other members in your party that join you or drop out?
Like I said, the randomization and the change is such an important part. Everything changes, so even the characters change.
Oh, wow.
This is a robot and a girl. In the E3 demo, we also have a boy character, but you're basically not going to know which character you're going to get, and the colors and all the skin, the hair, everything changes each time, so you will always get a unique character. And they are chosen from the people of the town, and when the need for a hero arises, and they're bestowed the title of the Sword of Ditto, which is where the title comes from.
Now, there's a lot of really cool things I'm seeing that are very contemporary, like, you know, you got your record. I think, oh, that's awesome. I think we saw like a cheeseburger just dropped that somebody picked up.
That's right. Like I say, it's a modern world. People have video game controllers, they eat cheeseburgers, they have Wi-Fi passwords. You know, it's not your classic fantasy RPG.
So what are some of your personal favorite sort of like items or drops or weapons and stuff like that that are in the game that are kind of based on modern things?
There's a digital watch, but it's a magical digital watch, and it allows you to change time, allows you to fast forward. We have a real-time day and night system, a real-time weather system. It allows you to control those elements, because there's various reasons why it might be day or night at any point. You can go with it, do things in the town, and certain NPCs might be available. It's more dangerous at night, so that's pretty useful.
So a lot of the contemporary stuff is still sort of based on, I don't know, stuff from like the 70s or the 80s. You got like records,
digital watch.
You get digital watches.
That's modern, isn't it?
Well, they're making a comeback. Yeah, they're definitely coming back. So how challenging in this game, was it difficult to find that sweet spot between making something that's randomly generated that kills you constantly? Because we've got so many like roguelike games that I think people go into and just get their butt kicked. Like how difficult was it to find sort of that groove of like keeping people going and not pushing back too hard?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still getting there, really. Like you say, it's a longer kind of time investment than it is on something like, say, Spelunky, where, you know, if you die, you don't have too far to go back. With this, we're talking about a couple of hours investment, so, you know, it saves your progress. We're going to be putting mechanics in there which will create ways for you to be able to increase your chances of lasting longer. You do level up as you go. You have these stickers, the kids stickers, like you can kind of collect lots of different types. Right. Which you can also swap with people when you haven't got all the set. But they increase your health and they increase your armor, and so you get progressively stronger as you play through. So the more time you invest, the stronger you get, which means you're less likely to die. And less likely to lose the entire world with you. That's right. So you're kind of increasing your chances. And we also have a system, you know, when you do die, and then a new hero has to take your place 100 years later. We're still trying to figure out really what's the best kind of cost to that, to see, you know, what is fair in order to, like, how much of your stickers, for example, are lost, or how many. Your gadgets are always lost because they're very critical to the structure of each game. Sure. There are other things. Maybe you can keep those. You always keep your experience. So even if you continue losing, you're always leveling up. So if the world's too hard for you and you keep dying, you'll eventually get to a point at which you're comfortable with its difficulty. Oh, that's awesome. You can defeat it. So I have 2 kids, so I like to be able to balance these things like automatically. They just like to play and enjoy. I don't want it to be too hard for them, so it kind of a self-balancing system where they're just enjoying themselves and it happens naturally. I like that you're putting your kids to work as play testers. I absolutely do. If you saw the trailer, that was me and my sons playing. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So Swords of Ditto, platforms and release dates? Okay, that's going to be looking at February, March 2018, PlayStation 4 and PC. Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming. Your game looks fantastic. More game coverage all week long right here on IGN Live, so stick around, and thanks for joining us.